Welcome back to Poorly Educated Today in the News, the only news show brave enough to read a strategic situation report and say, yeah, but how does this affect my gas bill, my Wi-Fi, and whether the government is about to tell my toaster it needs DEI training? Folks, it is December 12th, 2025, and America has decided to speed-run every possible crisis at once, like we clicked randomized difficulty on the Constitution. We got federal power flexing, states throwing lawsuits like folding chairs, oil tankers getting repoed like a Dodge Charger behind a Waffle House, and the Pacific Northwest turning into a very soggy Noah's Ark without the cute animals. So crack open a lukewarm beer, sit on something that creaks when you move, and let's get poorly educated. Segment 1. One rule to code them all: Trump versus the states. The White House woke up this morning and chose violence against state governments. President Trump signed an executive order basically saying, "Listen here, California and Colorado, your little AI rules are cute, but daddy federal government is home now." One rule for artificial intelligence, one ring to rule the robots, and apparently zero patience for governors who think they can tell computers to not discriminate. The logic here is simple in a very redneck way. Trump says if every state makes its own AI laws, America's tech industry turns into a quilt sewn by 50 drunk raccoons. Meanwhile, China's over there with one rule, one system, and 1 billion cameras watching you blink. So Trump's solution is centralize everything, because nothing says conservative values like a giant federal hammer. But here's where it gets spicy. The order tells the Justice Department to sue states that don't comply, and if that doesn't work, they threaten to take away broadband money. That's right. Rural internet is now being held hostage like it owes the government lunch money. Nothing makes you love AI freedom like losing Wi-Fi in a town where the biggest download is a weather app and a suspicious amount of conspiracy videos. California's governor came out swinging, calling it corruption and saying Trump is protecting tech buddies. Colorado said, "Hey, we only made AI rules because Congress did nothing," which is like your kid saying, "I had to cook dinner because you disappeared for 6 years." Meanwhile, legal experts are screaming 10th Amendment, spending clause, unconstitutional coercion, and most Americans are screaming, "Why does my phone keep auto-correcting barbecue to biodegradable?" This is where America is now. States' rights unless states do something the White House doesn't like. Then suddenly it's National Unity Hour. Segment 2. National Guard or National Vibes. Troops at home. While the robots are getting regulated or deregulated or whatever this is, the Senate is asking a terrifying question. Can the National Guard be used at home for immigration enforcement, protests, or anything that makes the president feel itchy? Republicans say it's about security. Democrats say it's about power. And everyone else says, why are we even talking about troops at polling places like that's a normal sentence? Senators actually asked Pentagon officials if soldiers could be deployed around elections, and you could hear America's collective eye twitch. There's also a judge in California who told the administration to knock it off after Trump tried to federalize California's National Guard against the governor's wishes. That's like borrowing your neighbor's truck, repainting it, and saying, actually, this is mine now. The legal fight here is between Title 10 and Title 32, which sounds like Star Wars droids but is actually who controls the Guard. And the bigger issue is trust. When politicians start talking about enemies within, people start wondering if the definition of enemy includes folks holding signs, asking questions, or just voting wrong. This is America stress-testing democracy like it's an off-brand folding chair. Segment 3. Operation Southern Spear, when oil gets repoed. Down south, the United States decided sanctions weren't enough anymore and went full tow truck mode. Operation Southern Spear sounds like a barbecue sauce, but it's actually a military operation where the U.S. seized a Venezuelan oil tanker carrying 2 million barrels of crude. They fast-roped onto the ship from helicopters, which is the maritime version of jumping a fence to steal catalytic converters, except legal. The tanker was spoofing its location, flying a fake flag, and funding bad actors, so the U.S. said, "Congrats, you're stateless. We're taking your oil." Venezuela screamed piracy. China quietly clenched. Oil prices jumped, and the global market learned a new rule. If the U.S. can physically seize oil, the ocean just became a very expensive parking lot. This isn't just about Venezuela. This is about shadow fleets, sanctions with teeth, and reminding everyone that the U.S. Navy still has hobbies. Energy markets now have to price in the possibility that your cargo might get confiscated, like an overdue library book. Segment 4. Belarus, Trump, and the world's weirdest thaw. In a plot twist nobody had on their bingo card, the U.S. sent an envoy to Belarus to shake hands with Alexander Lukashenko, a man best described as Europe's last mall cop dictator. Belarus released hundreds of political prisoners, including a major opposition figure's husband, and the U.S. responded by lifting sanctions on the national airline. It's diplomacy, but in a very transactional, "I'll help you if you help me" way. Lukashenko praised Trump personally, which is either flattery, survival instinct, or both. Analysts say this might be a wedge strategy to pull Belarus slightly away from Russia, or it might just be Lukashenko buying time with compliments. Either way, America is now flirting geopolitically with someone it spent years ignoring, and Europe is watching like, "You sure about this?" Segment 5. The Fed cuts rates, and nobody agrees why. Economically, the Federal Reserve cut interest rates by a quarter point, which sounds boring until you realize nobody on the Fed agrees why. Some think jobs are weakening, some think inflation isn't done, some just want to go home. Unemployment is up, data is late, and the economy feels like a truck making a noise you don't recognize but hope goes away if you turn the radio up. Markets reacted politely, but under the surface everyone's nervous, especially in tech. Segment 6. The AI bubble gets the side-eye. Broadcom warned margins are shrinking. Oracle said it's spending billions more without profits to show yet. And suddenly investors realized maybe building giant AI infrastructure forever without immediate payoff isn't magic. Then Disney shows up and drops $1 billion into OpenAI, licensing Mickey Mouse to an AI video generator while suing Google for training on Disney content. That's not hypocrisy, that's brand management. Hollywood unions are furious. Creators are anxious. Disney says don't worry, no likeness theft, while writers hear the word eventually. AI is officially in its awkward teenage phase. Segment 7. The Pacific Northwest becomes a swimming pool. Finally, Mother Nature kicked the Pacific Northwest square in the basement. A massive atmospheric river dumped trillions of gallons of rain. Rivers broke records, towns flooded, roads disappeared. Nearly 100,000 people evacuated. Helicopters rescued families from rooftops. Governors declared emergencies. Scientists said climate change added fuel to the storm, and people just tried to find dry socks. This isn't theoretical anymore. This is infrastructure meeting weather it wasn't built for, and it's happening now. Segment 8. Odds, ends, and the weird stuff drawer. NASA lost contact with a Mars spacecraft. The State Department changed fonts like it's making a political statement through Microsoft Word. Farmers got $12 billion in trade aid because tariffs keep punching them in the wallet. The Supreme Court is quietly stacking gun cases. A judge in Wisconsin is on trial for allegedly helping someone avoid immigration arrest. And a high-profile murder case is already becoming a political lightning rod. All of this is happening at once. Because of course it is. In conclusion, December 12, 2025, is America running every system at max capacity. Federal power versus states, markets versus reality, technology versus patience, weather versus infrastructure, and everyone versus common sense. The country isn't broken, but it is definitely overheating, and the warning lights are blinking like Christmas decorations you forgot to take down. Stay alert, stay skeptical, and remember, if it doesn't make sense, you're probably paying for it anyway.